So, thank you to Livnot and Hibonot for hosting. And so I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. Oh, can you make me a co-host or something? Because I can't share my screen, Akiva.
1 second. Okay.
Great. Oh, Yisrael David. Hello.
What
Oh,
up?
you're
There's
just
an
connecting to audio. Great. Hi,
hold on.
Yisrael David. Hi, Adina.
So I'm making
Okay.
you. Okay, I made you a co-host.
That's great. So
Okay.
if I share my screen now, I should be able to.
Yeah.
Great. Here we go. So that's the one we need. Share. All right, everybody. So we're going to start off um, a, a, a 2 or 3 sessions, I think it's going to be at least, of learning an actual piece of Zohar, okay, which talks about, it's called The Night of the Bride, and it's in the first volume of Zohar, in which we actually find out what's so special about Shavuot and what the whole idea of redemption and exile actually is within ourselves. Okay, so before we start learning Zohar, we say a prayer. This prayer was composed by the Ari, the Holy Ari, and it's to help us focus and to make sure that what we're doing is truth. Okay, so we'll start. I'll read the prayer in Hebrew and then we will go into English. ריבון עולמים ואדוני אדונים, אב רחמן וסליחות, מודים אנחנו לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, בקידה ובשתחוויה, שקרבתנו לתורתך ולעבודתך עבודת הקודש, ונתת לנו חלק בסודות תורתך הקדושה, מה אנו ומחיינו, אשר עשית עמנו חסד גדול כזה. על כן אנחנו מפילים תחנוננו לפניך, שתמחור ותסלח לכל חטאותינו ועוונותינו, והיו עוונותינו מבדילים בינינו לביניך. וכן יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, שתכונן את לבבינו ליראתך ולבבך. תקשיב אוזניך לדברינו אלה, ותפתח לבבינו הערל בסודות תורתך, ולימודנו זה נחת רוח, לפני כסי כבודך כרך ניחוח. ותציל עלינו אור מקור נשמתנו בכל בחינתנו. ושנוצצו ניצוצות עבדיך הקדושים, אשר על ידם גלית את דבריך אלה בעולם, וזכותם, וזכות אבותם, וזכות תורתם ותמינותם וקדושתם, יעמוד לנו לבן לקשר בדברים אלו. ובזכותם תראה עינינו במה שאנו לומדים, כמאמר נעים זמירות ישראל, גל עיניי והביט הנפלאות מתורתך, כי אדוני תן חוכמה מפיו דעת ותבונה, יהיו לו רצונים מפי, ויגון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Master of the universe and Lord of lords, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we give thanks before you, O Lord, our God and God of our fathers, bowing their head and prostrating ourselves, that you brought us close to your Torah and to your service, the holiest of services. And you've given to us a portion in the inner meanings of your holy Torah. What are we and what is our life, that you've dealt with us such a great loving kindness as this? Therefore we lay our supplication before you, that you may pardon and forgive all our sins and iniquities, and do not let our iniquities separate us from you. And may it be your will, O Lord our God and God of our fathers, that you prepare our hearts to have reverence of you and love of you, and may your ears listen to these our words. Open our uncircumcised heart in the inner meanings of your Torah, and may this our learning rise up to give pleasure before the throne of your glory, like a sweet-smelling fragrance, and may you bestow upon us the light of the source of our soul in all its aspects. May the sparks of your holy servants, to whom you revealed these your words into the world, shine forth, and their merit and the merit of their fathers, the merit of their Torah, their wholeness and holiness, stand by us, that we do not stumble in these words. And through their merits enlighten our eyes and what we are learning, as the sweet singer of Israel said, open my eyes, and I will look on the wonders of your Torah. For the Lord gives wisdom from his mouth, knowledge and understanding. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be ever acceptable before you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. there we go. Rochelle wants to come in. Great. Right, lovely everybody. Wonderful to have everybody here. Okay, so I'm going to now share my screen and show you the piece of Zohar that we're going to be learning. I think that's it. Yes, it is. Now, I might just zoom out a moment. View, zoom out, okay? Because I want to just show you how the piece, how a page of the Zohar actually looks. All right, so we can get orientated. Now, I don't expect anybody to be able to read it. It's okay. All right, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to do the reading. All right, but still, it's very interesting to know what the page looks like, so we can stay orientated. For at least for those of you who can actually follow a little bit of the Hebrew. At the top of the page here, we have the Aramaic, which is in fact the language in which the Zohar was written down. It was the language that was actually spoken as a spoken language in the time of the Second Temple and afterwards, which is the time in which the Zohar was taught. Okay, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who was the main protagonist of the Zohar, he was the one. He was a pupil of Rabbi Akiva. He lived after the destruction of the Second Temple, round about the 1st century. Okay, so they spoke Aramaic in the country at that time. All right, so the Zohar itself is written down in Aramaic. Okay, now since most of us don't know Aramaic, Rabbi Ashlag, the great commentator on the Zohar, the first thing he does is he translates it into Hebrew, which is very much more useful. Okay, so first of all, we have his translation, which is down here at the bottom in Hebrew. Okay, and then let me move that out the way so I can actually get to my slide. There we go. Oops. And then he goes into his explanation here. All right. Now his explanation consists not only of the Zohar itself, but it also talks about how it applies to us. And that's the reason why we learn so much from his commentary on the Zohar, because it talks also about ourselves. It talks about our relationships with ourselves, our relationships with our soul, which of course is the aspect of God within each one of us. All right. Now, why are we learning this piece of Zohar? As you know, we're in the middle of counting the Omer, and when you count, towards something, you need to know what you're counting towards. Okay, when you're little, you count towards the days before to your birthday, and you imagine your birthday. Imagine how wonderful it's going to be when you get there. Okay, in the non-Jewish world, they count the days to Christmas. All right. So what are we doing? We're counting the days till we arrive at Mount Sinai. Okay. What are we going to do when we get to Mount Sinai? We're going to receive the Torah on Mount Sinai on Shavuot, the festival of Shavuot. So how do we need to look forward to it? What are we looking forward to? Okay? And that's what we're going to look at today. So when I read the Aramaic, I'll read the Aramaic first, and then I'll just translate it directly from the Hebrew, so we don't have three languages. But I'll read the Aramaic so you get the sound of it. Okay, just use it as a meditation or something. Okay, so this is called the article "The Night of the Bride." And before I begin, are there any questions on anything I said so far? No? All right? Okay, right then. Rabbi Shimon היה יתיב ולאי באורייתא. בליליה דקלה התחברת בבעלה. דתנינן כל אינון חבריה דבני היכלה דקלה הצטריכו ביהו ליליה. דקלה הזדמנת למהבוי ליום האחר גורחופה בבעלה. למהווי אימה כל ההוא ליליה. ולמחדי אימה בתיקונה דהיו התתקנת למעלה באורייתא. מתורה לנביאים, ומנביאים לכתובים, ובמדרשות לקראי, ברזי תחוכמתה, בגין דאילין, אינון תיקונין דילי ותכשיטה. ואי ובעולמתה, עלת וקיימת על רישי הון, ותתקנת בהו וחדת בהו כל ההוא ליליה, וליום האחרא לא עלת לחופה, אלא בהדי הוא, ואילו ניקון בני חופתה, וכיוון דעלת לחופתה, קודשא בריחו שאיל עליהו, ומברך לון, ומעטה לון, ביטרחה דקלה, זכאה חולקהון. All right, there you go. Now then, in order to read this, I need to zoom in a bit. All right, there we go. So I'm just going to translate it just directly, okay? Rabbi Shimon was sitting and practicing the Torah on the night in which the bride, which it refers to all the souls of Israel together, okay? She's called the bride, okay? So during the night, okay, all the souls of Israel gathered together in that night, and she joins with her husband. And the night they're talking about is 2 nights. One is the night of Shavuot, okay, the night before Shavuot, the night of Shavuot, when we receive the Torah in the morning, the next day. But there's also another aspect of the night. Sorry. There's also another aspect of the night. And that is the time when God's light is hidden from us. That is also called the night. Okay? When things happen, they happen in our private lives, they happen in our communal lives. Okay? That's also called the night. So he says, Rabbi Shimon was sitting and practicing the Torah during the night. Which night? When the bride, which is all the souls of Israel together, join with her husband. Now, the language of Kabbalah is called the language of the branches. What does that mean? It means that we don't take the words in their literal sense, because the language of the branches is more like, let me just stop share a moment so you can all see me. If you can see my hand, okay, the language of the branch is more like an upside down tree, okay? So everything in this world, which is my bottom of my fingers, actually relates to a spiritual root above. So when it says the bride, doesn't mean literally a bride, it means the one who's going to connect with God, all right? And God is likened to the bridegroom, all right? When the bride and the bridegroom get together, it's a wedding, all right? And this is the day in which we receive the Torah is likened to a wedding, all right? And the Torah itself is the wedding contract. So this is what we're counting the days towards. We're counting the days towards when we actually have a marriage between the Jewish people, between all the souls of Israel and God. Okay? So I'm going back now to share the screen. If anybody's got any questions at all, don't hesitate. Just write them on the chat, okay? And then we can look at them. So you're sitting there practicing Torah in the night in which the bride joins with her husband, which is God. And we've learned that all the companions who belong to the bride's house need, during that night, to be with her. Okay? Because on the following day, the bride is destined to be under the wedding canopy with her husband. And those companions need to be with her all through the night and to rejoice with her in her rectification with which she's rectified. Now, what are these rectifications? What does she need to do? She needs to practice the Torah, and not only the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, but also the prophets, and go from the prophets to the writings and look at the Midrash and also the inner meanings of the Torah which is found in the Kabbalah. And all these aspects are her jewellery. And then the bride comes and is rectified by her companions and is rejoiced with them all through that night. And she only comes to the wedding canopy with them, and that those people who accompany her are called the sons of the wedding canopy, because when she comes to the chuppah, the wedding canopy, God asks after each one of them and blesses them and crowns them with the crowns of the bride. Happy is their portion. Now, it's very poetic, okay? We've got this image, we've got the bride, which is the souls of Israel. We've got God, he's the bridegroom, we're the bride, okay? We've got the companions of the bride, those who practice the Torah, okay, and are coming to join with the bride. And we've got the wedding canopy, which is going to be on the day of Shavuot. Okay, so we've got this beautiful, beautiful vision. But what does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? It's pretty, it's nice, makes me feel good. But what does it mean? Explanation. All right, that's what we need. Rabbi Ashlag teaches there are two explanations, but both of them come from the same source. One of them, the first one, the days of exile are called the night, for this is the time when God's light is hidden from the children of Israel. And then all the powers of separation have governance over those who are trying to serve God. If, nevertheless, if at that time we still manage to stay in connection, this actually is the time when the bride joins with her husband. All right? Let's just think about that for a minute. We've got a time right now, which is coronavirus. Okay? If we get anxious, if we get upset, if we get worried, okay? Why are we doing all those things? Because we can't see God's light. It's not shining for us. Maybe we're worried about our jobs. Maybe we're worried about our elderly parents. There's a lot of worry going on right now in the world. Okay? And it's not easy to deal with. This is called a time of God's face being hidden. Now, right now it's a sort of a general issue for everybody, for the whole world. But sometimes we can find God's face is hidden from us in our own individual life. What do we do with that? How do we relate to that? What Rabbi Ashlag says here is very important. He says, when God's light is hidden from us, then all the powers which want to separate us from him come into action. What does that mean? We get anxious, we get afraid, we get fearful, what will be. All right. However, if at that time precisely we manage to hold on through our Torah and through our good deeds, okay, and we don't blame that person or this person or whoever we think caused it, okay, but we act as a tzaddik. What is a tzaddik? The word tzaddik means one who justifies God, one who says God is what is happening is good, because if it's happening it must be good, because everything that God does is good. Okay, so if we manage to hold on, and we can use the Torah, open the book, get inspired, we can do a good deed, cheer somebody else up, help them, judge a person, even if they've not the nicest person in the world, but we judge them favorably, okay, that's doing a mitzvah. So if we act as a tzaddik, okay, then at that time we are called by the name of those who uphold the Torah. And he goes on to say that it's all these lofty levels of the inner meanings of the Torah are actually discovered by ourselves at that time. It's actually true. Let's stop the share for a second so I can see me and you can see whatever. This is actually true. You find that when we try in these dark times, in the difficult times, to remain connected, we actually discover more about God. We discover more about ourselves and our relationship with God, okay, than we do at any other time. All right? These are hard. It's difficult, but we discover what our faith really is. We discover how we can manifest it. All right? Nobody in their right minds chooses these hard times when God's face is hidden. Okay? But they happen to all of us at different times. And therefore, when at that time we can use those times for good. All right? Great. And oh, right. Okay. Oh, good. I've seen the chat. Rachel said, because we're forced towards introspection when his face is turned away from us. Absolutely, Rachel. That's absolutely right. Yeah. Lauren, I didn't get your question. I'm sorry. Can you write that again? Whatever you wanted to say, because I didn't follow what you wanted. We're forced towards introspection when his face is turned away from us. We are. And, you know, that introspection can be positive or it can be negative. Do you see what I'm saying? We can go into fear, into anxiety, or we can take the Torah and be inspired. I mean, don't imagine that the people in the Torah had easy times. They really didn't. I mean, if you look at Abraham's life, he had a terrible time, really. Had all these different tests, one after the other. And if you look at King David, for example, I mean, it just went from catastrophe to catastrophe, more or less. They didn't have easy times. One of the things that I really love about the Psalms and David HaMelech was King David. His life was so hard. But, they've got Psalms like, when he's running away from King Saul, who's chasing after him to kill him, or he's running away even from his son Absalom, his son. I can't imagine how terrible that must have been, a son who you love, and he's chasing after you to kill you. I can't, how do you... It's just like the worst situation anybody could even imagine. All right? And nevertheless, King David managed to stay connected with God and to write a psalm of pouring out his sorrow to God and trusting in him that God will look after him and that he will stay connected with him. And that's why, King David is really called a tzaddik. That's why, because he stayed connected even in the hard times, even in the night. Okay? So this is actually what Rabbi Ashlag here is telling us. Wait a minute, did I? I forgot to do share screen. That's right. I forget on the Zoom. You have to choose to do share on a sort of conscious basis. All right, here we go. Nevertheless, he says, it's at that time that the bride joins with her husband. That's when we make the connection. So when we've got these times, these negative times in our lives, they're not really negative. They're opportunities. All right? And then if we manage to justify God, to say, okay, God, this is happening, so it must be okay, it must be good. through the Torah, through the divine wisdom, okay, to help us and guide us, and the mitzvot, the good deeds that we can do, then at that time, anything that we're able to do, it enables us to be numbered amongst those who uphold the Torah. And all the spiritual levels, which are called the inner meanings of the Torah, are revealed at that time. Okay? Why is that? Because it's as if we are making the Torah, in a sense, he says. Because what we're actually doing is we're making manifest what is hidden underneath. All right? So we find that the days of exile, which are called the night of the bride, when she joins with her husband, okay, those are the days of exile. When God's light is hidden from us, that's called exile. And this is the time which is called the night of the bride, when she joins with her husband. And all the companions who are of the temple of the bride, they uphold the Torah. They like supporting the Torah. They're making it together. Now, when we've done all that work, okay, eventually we will come into the light. Now, it's a cyclical thing, you know, there's days, there's night and there's day, there's exile and redemption. But ultimately, we will all come to the ultimate redemption, when God's light will be revealed always, and we will no longer have these sort of dips into God's light being concealed from us. And this is what Rav Ashlag says. At the end of the Tikkun, when we reach the final time and the perfect redemption, when we reach the final redemption, it will be in the aspect of the scripture, V'haya yom echad hu yivadei l'Shem, lo yom v'lo laila, v'haya le'et erev yeh or. And it will be on that day known to God, neither day nor night, but in the evening time there will be light. Okay? In other words, when that comes, and all the great rabbis tell us that we're very close, which is nice to hear. All right? Okay, comforting and hopeful. When that comes, it's a day known to God. It will be neither day nor night. At evening time, it will be light. So even in the evening time, then there will be light. It will no longer be this God hiding from us and God being revealed to us. It will be all the time revealed. And he says at that time, the bride is invited to be on that day under the wedding canopy with her husband. And then all those worlds will go up. And therefore, all the worlds will go up. All the spiritual worlds will arise in consciousness. Our world will arise in consciousness also. Okay, in the inner meaning of and the world will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the water covers the sea. Like, just naturally, we will know God in a natural way. Isn't that nice? Huh? To know God in a natural way, just naturally know him, just together know God in a natural way. We won't have to struggle. We'll just know God. All right? Okay? And that will be, all the worlds will go up in consciousness. And that will be considered as the new day, the new wedding canopy. And at that time, all the righteous people, that is those who manage to justify God and to keep their hold on things even when times got tough, are called the children of the wedding canopy. And at that point, they're simply practicing the Torah. They don't have to kind of manifest it or make it, because, as we said, and the world is filled with the knowledge of God. That's from Isaiah chapter 11. Okay? Right. Any questions, comments, thoughts, ideas? Let's have a look at the chat. It's going to be amazing. It sure is. Absolutely. You bet. Yay! It's going to be amazing. Anybody else want to say anything? Any questions? Yeah? Everybody all right there? Okay, I'll go back then. No, oh, wait a minute. I have to wait a minute. I have to do share again. Share screen. Right. Oh, that's it. I think I did it. Yes. Okay. Now, the second explanation. Do you remember? He said there's two explanations, which are the same thing. Okay. Oh, there's two more chats. Okay, 1 second. Well, how do I find those then? Oh, here we go. Oh, thank you. All right. There's all positive reinforcement there. Great, lovely. Thank you. Doing well, thank you. Loving listening in. That's great. And Akiva says the subject is very interesting. I love it, and you're making it even more interesting. Well, I don't think that was me. I think it was Rabbi Ashlag actually. But very good. Thank you. That's all very positive reinforcement. Okay, so here we go. The second explanation is, all right, remember we said there's two explanations which come from the same source, is that we're actually talking about the night of Shavuot. All right? And the night of Shavuot is also the night in which the bride joins with her husband. Now, why is that the same as the time before the redemption? Because the day of Shavuot, which is the morning after, the bride, that's us, is invited to be under the wedding canopy with her husband. And that is on the day of Shavuot, which is the day of the receiving of the Torah. Now, this is exactly the same essence as our first explanation. From the day in which we receive the Torah already has the same essence as the end of the redemption. In the inner meaning of, and death is swallowed up forever, and the Lord God wipes tears away from all faces. Wow. Let's have a think about that for a minute. What does the Torah give us? The Torah gives us a blueprint. It gives us a blueprint of how to conduct our lives in a way that is going to keep us connected with holiness, and that's going to keep us on track with God, okay? No matter what is happening in the world. We find that when we manage to keep the Torah, to take note of it, to be interested in it, to work with it, okay? To try to do something that it says, we find our lives stay on track much better. There's no question about it in my mind. The Torah, when I say the Torah, I don't just mean the 5 books of Moses. That is one aspect of the Torah, okay? What I mean is that we have the 4 garments of the Torah, which is the written Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses, and the prophets and the writings, the actual books. We have that's called the Pshat. We have the Agadot, the Midrash. We have the Halacha. And then we have finally the Kabbalah. Okay, the inner meanings. And different aspects of our souls are attracted to different parts of the Torah itself. Now, the Torah itself is one essence, it's one light, okay? But the light has different vessels. So it's like the Torah itself has got 4 different main garments, all right? You've got the garment of the literal, the written Torah. You've got the garment of the tales, the midrash. You've got the garment of the halacha, of how to do things, how to do the mitzvot, the Talmud. And you've got the garment which is the Kabbalah. And at different generations, in general, different garments spoke to different people, to the people. At the time of Moses, it was the written Torah was the most important. Okay? As we go down in history, we find that the midrash began to grow. We find that the halacha in the Talmud had a very long period in which it was paramount. Okay? And now we find a new phenomenon. We find that the Kabbalah, which itself is not new, it was given to Moses on Mount Sinai just as all the other aspects of Torah were. Okay? But now the Kabbalah has become one of the main garments of the Torah. All right? Of the light of the Torah. So the light of the Torah itself is one light, all right? But all those different aspects are its different garments. Okay. Now I saw there was a chat. I'm not very good at working Zoom. Didn't different rabbis seem to be attached to different aspects of the Torah throughout history? Yes, absolutely. And it's not only rabbis. You find that different people are attached to different aspects of Torah. Also in our days. I've got a very good friend, lovely man. And he's much older than me. And he was a friend with my husband's. And he's a rabbi. And he used to go to shiurim with the son of Rabbi Ashlag, Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag. It was a great privilege, an amazing privilege. And he says to me, but Yedida, I would fall asleep. Okay. It didn't speak to him. The Kabbalah doesn't speak to him. He's a lovely man. What speaks to him is halacha, how to do things. Okay? If you talk to him about Kabbalah, he falls asleep. If you ask him which bracha do I need to make on the pizza, he comes alive. All right? So everybody has their own aspect of Torah which makes them, sing. All right? Now, in our days, it's more common actually for people to be moved and be happy through Kabbalah. All right? But it's not just different rabbis. It's us also. We all have different ways of relating, and whatever you find speaks to you is what you need to go for. And you're right, Russia brought up different rabbis. Today also they're different rabbis. So you need to find which aspect of the Torah is yours. Some people love Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. They just love it, Some people love Chabad, the Tanya. I love Rabbi Ashlag. Okay? But I would never try to persuade somebody who loves one way to come to what I like. Their soul connects through the different paths. Shivim panim l'Torah. There's 70 aspects of Torah, and that is definitely important. Yeah, definitely finding that today shows we're all in different places on our journeys. We're in different places. Not only are we in different places on our journeys, but we're different people. Our faces don't look alike. Our souls aren't alike either. All right, we're all unique aspects, and therefore we have to uniquely find what speaks to us. But what I do want to say is, when you find it, go for it. Okay? When you find what speaks to you, try to work for a while at least, just consistently, with what you find speaks to you. And there's a very interesting metaphor on that, which I once read, which is, for example, there's a fellow needs to get from the East Coast to the West Coast in America. Okay, he's going to drive. All right, so first of all, he needs to buy a car. Okay, so he figures out, do I need this car, this type, that type. All right. Now, if he spends all his time choosing which car, he's never going to get to the West Coast. Finally, you've got to choose your car, get in it, and go. All right. So, what you need to do is you absolutely need, once you've found which one speaks to you, go for it. All right. Choose the works, choose those books, choose those Zooms, or choose those videos, whatever you want, okay? And really go down deep into them. When you do that, you find that actually the other aspects of Torah also open up for you as well. But you first got to find what suits you and then go for it. Otherwise, you're like the guy just keeping looking for the right car, but you're never going to get to the West Coast that way. Okay, great. Yeah, okay, there we go. Sue also gave me a thumbs up there. Thank you. All right, so let's go back to, did I do share? I'm not quite sure what I did here. No, I forget. On Skype, you don't have to press all these buttons. Makes it easier. Right, there we are. I did it this time. Okay, now, where were we? Right. So the receiving of the Torah is actually got the same essence as the redemption, because we find the blueprint. We find what helps us. We find what the way to live in a wholesome way according to God's laws, which are actually the natural laws. Okay, one of God's names is nature, or is Teva. Okay, Elohim, it relates to nature. Okay, so these laws are the ways to live in a wholesome, good way, which is the Torah. And the Torah has got a light within it, which brings us to the good way. The light of the Torah, it connects with our soul and brings us to the good way. And this brings us ultimately to the Gemara Tikkun, to the end of the redemption. Besod bala hamavet lenetzach. Then death is wiped out forever. Now, what does that mean? It means I'm going to live to be 1,000? Not necessarily. I'm not sure I'd want to anyhow. What it means, mavet, death, actually means separation from God. Okay? If God is the source of all life, including our spiritual life, then death is not necessarily physical death, because we don't get separated from God when we die. But death actually means separation. Okay? If you remember the story of the language, that you've got the branches in this world and the roots in the world above. So that's one of the words, okay, which is used, meaning its spiritual root. What is the spiritual root of death? Separation from God. So our separation from God will never happen again. And then the Lord God wipes tears from off all faces. And that's from Isaiah chapter 25. And it will also be, as the sages have explained on the verse, engraved on the tablets, which it means that, when Moses brought down the first tablets of stone, okay, from Mount Sinai, the Ten Commandments were engraved by the finger of God on those tablets. Okay, what did the sages say? Don't read harut, which means engraved. Read cherut, which means freedom. Because through the Torah, we get freedom from the angel of death. Again, what's the angel of death? The angel of death is not necessarily the one who accompanies us when we die. And the angel of death is the will to receive for ourselves alone, which is our egoism. So here we have the children of Israel standing there at Mount Sinai, and we received the Torah on Mount Sinai. We were given the Torah on Mount Sinai. So what went wrong? Oh, somebody written a chat here. I don't know how to get this chat. I saw it there and I lost it. Oh, I don't know. This is so... Okay, I'll do stop sharing and I can find it. The angel of death, yes. Angel of death is egoism. That's right. That's right. That's right. You got it. Thank you, Sue. Perfect. Great. Okay. Oh no, here we go. Do share again. Right. All right. And so what happened? They, after about 40 days, in fact, exactly 40 days, after Moses had gone up on the mountain, received the Torah, of course there was the event of the golden calf, the sin of the golden calf, which meant that as we talked about in that discussion we had last week, there is an aspect of life when we're given an opportunity to receive the Torah, which is what happened on Mount Sinai, but not necessarily, we've been given the opportunity for it, but not necessarily have we actually received it. Okay, we were given the Torah, had we received it. It was very clear that at the time when we were given the Torah, we hadn't actually received it. We didn't have the vessels yet to receive it. So we fell into a mistake and we did the golden calf. And so that's why that the receiving of the Torah at that time did not activate completely the end of redemption. It just gave us the possibility. Now, when you think about it, this whole issue of the golden calf isn't so strange as it looks at the beginning. You know, you think to yourself, there they were, the children of Israel standing there, receiving the voice of God, receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai. How could they do a golden calf, 40 days later? How could this be? I mean, it's like nonsense to us, isn't it? I mean, who wants to worship a golden calf anyhow? But what we do have to understand is that the children of Israel had only just got out of slavery, all right, for 200 and something years, okay? And in that time, they'd sunk spiritually lower and lower and lower, in which they had connected with idol worship. They'd become idol worshippers, all right? And, they didn't actually have the capacity at that time to receive the Torah properly. It was like given to them, but they hadn't got the capacity to receive it. All right? So what have we been doing all this time since then? We're building the vessels with which to receive the Torah. Now, I know that, it all looks pretty, the world looks like it's getting worse instead of getting better. But we are given to work on what is not yet corrected, okay? We're actually the same souls which come, around again and again and again, all right? We're given to work on that every single time, okay? And what we've already corrected is kept stored for us in a special level called Atik Yomin, all right? So we don't actually know what we've already corrected, because there's nothing for us to deal with it. If we've already done it, there's nothing for us to deal with. So when we come down into the world, each time we get landed with what we've still got to deal with, which is, so we've still got to deal with, all the mess which we haven't managed up till now. So when we look at ourselves and we look at the world, we say, oh my God, the world looks like it's going worse instead of better. Yes, it looks like that, but that's not the reality. The reality is that we've done a lot of work already, and we've just got probably the worst bits left to deal with. All right? Because, it's always darkest before the dawn, so we've got the worst bits left to deal with. And in fact, we're getting closer and closer to actually being able to receive the Torah in actual practice. All right? So they messed up the redemption at that point because they didn't have the vessels. But now we're getting closer to actually being able to receive the Torah properly. All right? And when we are able to do that, that will be the same as the redemption itself. So what happens? We find that in the night prior to the receiving of the Torah, all the interrelationships, all those meetings with God which take place when God's light is hidden from us, actually need to be finished. And it's at that night, that the night of the bride joins with her husband and is appointed to be on the following day under the wedding canopy of her husband. And this is the festival of Shavuot, in which the tikkun, the rectification of the vessels, is completed, and we become free from the angel of death, free from our egoism. And it's during this time of the night that the tzaddikim, those who are able to justify God through their good deeds, actually build together. We build together a new wedding canopy for the bride. Now, Rabbi Asher goes on to say, it's more comfortable for me to continue my explanation in the way that I did before. Okay? Looking at this in terms of the redemption. But whoever wants to look at it in relationship to Shavuot can certainly do that, because it's actually one thing. It's one essence. Now, I can see there's a bit of a chat there going on. Let's see what's there. Please explain further. Oh, Sue, I don't know what you meant. Angel of death. Does the angel of death mean equals egoism, mean that ego stops us from living our most true, highest lives? That's a brilliant question. Let's look at that before. And from Sevilla, I heard this Kabbalah before, but did not understand why the night of the bride comes before the canopy the next day. Right, okay, excellent questions, both of you. All right, let's take them one at a time. Does the angel of death, our egoism, mean that ego stops us from living our most true and highest lives? Okay, so the ego is our basic nature, all right? We all have it. And we're all meant to have it, okay? Sometimes I think we're better off without it, but it's not the truth. We all are meant to have it. It's our basic structure of who we are, okay? We need it. We need it to develop who we are, all right? Our personality, our capacity for love, all our capacity for functioning in the world, all that is part of who we are. It's our ego. Now, the issue is that when we use our ego only to feed the ego, what we call egoism, all right, or selfish love, we separate from God, okay, and that's what's called death. So the angel of death is using the ego in a way that we're going into it which separates from God. Now, what does that mean? It means supplying ourselves with more than we actually need. Okay, for example, the world has gone completely mad. You've got these terribly rich people who've got billions upon billions, when poor other people have got nothing. Their businesses are going completely bust with this lockdown thing, and got other people who just got these huge millions. It's like, well, that's not a correct way to live. We need to limit our needs so we only use what's appropriate for us, and then that would be using the ego properly. If we go beyond and we take far more than we actually require, that would be egoism, and that would be the angel of death, because it actually separates us from God. Okay? So the ego is a useful and necessary part of ourselves, but the question is, how do we use it? Are we using it in order to do good things with it, to come close to God? And that means the transformation, to make that decision. I'm not going to sort of use it to satisfy my own needs, or am I going to just take what I want according to what I desire? That would be the angel of death. Hannah, was that okay? You can write, say yes or no, or write something. Oh, good. Yes, thank you. Great. And Sevilla asked, I heard this Kabbalah before, but didn't understand why the night of the bride comes before the canopy the next day. Right. Well, you see, the night, which is when we rectify the ego using the Torah mitzvot, when God's light, it's like the night and the day. God's light is hidden, and then God's light is revealed. The canopy is when God's light is revealed. Okay, the actual chuppah is when the bride and the bridegroom are standing together under the wedding canopy, which means that we've rectified our ego. We are now using it only for the sake of giving good to other people, all right, or to God. Okay, so it counts the same, all right. When we've rectified it, when we've transformed it, using the advice in the Torah, okay, when we've done that, then we like one with God. God is all giving, all loving, all good. And when we rectify, move from just receiving and able to do giving as well, okay, then we're like one with God, and we can meet him together under that wedding canopy. So that's why the night comes before the canopy. And I know what you mean, because in human terms, we get married first and then we join with the husband, all right? But this isn't a human situation in that sense, okay? Here, the joining with the husband, joining with God, actually comes in the night, okay? And then the wedding, the joining, the spiritual joining can actually happen following it in the light, which is called the day, okay? So our potential of joining is in the night when God's light is hidden, and the actual receiving of the light is in the following day. Okay? Okay, great. Wonderful. Lovely. All right, well, golly, that took us, I can't believe the time went so quick. That's unbelievable. All right, very good. Well, just before we go, let me just finish this last bit then. 1 second. Or did I have to do share again? I'll do last bit of share. Okay, so we'll just do this last bit to sum up, all right, what we've done. All right, here we go. So all those companions, so we're all of us, okay? We're all the companions of the bride, we're all the companions of the souls of Israel, okay? All right, we need to be one with the holy Shekhinah, which is called the bride, right through the night of exile. Was the night of exile, and God's light is hidden from us. because it's actually in the days of the exile that the bride herself is rectified through those who uphold the Torah, through all their good deeds and the Torah and the mitzvot which they do. And then thus we purify the bride, which is the souls of Israel, from her aspect of good and evil, and then she's invited to be to be amongst those who actually practicing the Torah, and they don't need to manifest it any longer, because all the souls of Israel are now only acting from good without any evil at all. All right, and that's why those who uphold the Torah, which are the companions of the bride, rejoice with her on this great tikkun that is done by the bride through them. All right, lovely. Yes, the bride is the Shekhinah. Yes, all the souls of Israel together is the same actually as the Shekhinah. It's got lots of different names. You can call it the Shekhinah. You can call it Knesset Yisrael, which is all the souls of Israel. All right? Or you can, rectified Kamim, balancing conscious actions by the souls of Israel. Yes, beautiful. Thank you. Lovely. Yeah, so all the souls of Israel is called the Shekhinah. It's also called the Malchut. It's also called Knesset Yisrael. Yeah. Or here it's called the bride. It's got lots of lovely different names. All right. Yes, beautiful. So, yeah, rectified does mean a balancing of conscious actions by the soul of Israel. Beautiful. All right. Dina said thank you. Rachel said thank you. Lovely. All right. Well, wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for being. Okay. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And now we know what we're looking forward to, all right, as we count the days to Shavuot, all right? And I'm going to see about another piece of Zohar for next week, Be'ezrat Hashem. Hi, Lauren. So I'm going to